Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And after OpTic Texas's disappointing performance at Major 1 in Raleigh, many people have been speculating what is it going to take for this team to decide to finally blow it up and pull the trigger on a change. People seem to believe that if Major 2 doesn't go so well, and they have a very difficult set of qualifiers for Major 2 and Major 3, we'll see here in a second, they're going to decide to pull the trigger, get rid of iLLeY, potentially get rid of Dashy as well, and decide to find some replacements. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. Really intrigued to your thoughts, as always, in the comments section below. Let's dive straight into things here. First of all, this is kind of funny hit from, Joey Nubsy and Attach. They did the cards right this past weekend, and yeah, it turns out Attach managed to pull a Joey Nubsy card, which is kind of incredible because he, of course, was the coach for Seattle Surge several years ago. Not sure why he's still got a card, but fair play. I told you guys I'd mention this earlier today as well, just because we saw quite a while ago now, start of November, rumors were circulating that Dashy was saying and others were saying that Hotel was going to be allowed for Major 1 and then removed from the map set. Now, to me, Hotel is the best map to watch hands down. Yes, it's a bit broken on control because the offense is favored, but nonetheless, it's still a phenomenal match to watch for Hardpoint, Search and Destroy as well. And the rumor was then that it was going to get removed. But I was like, well, look, if it's going to get removed after Major 1, like, why isn't it removed before? Because basically they've copied and pasted a real life hotel. If you guys aren't familiar with the story, this is like, if you go to the, what's it called? The Conservatorium or something hotel in Amsterdam, it's just this hotel. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous what they tried to pull off here. And obviously that hotel wasn't so happy with the hotel getting renamed and repurposed and chucked into a Call of Duty game. So, it seems like they came to some sort of arrangement there from like a copyright perspective with the hotel to make it okay. And you'd imagine if it was okay for Major 1, surely it's okay going forwards. But nonetheless, a bit of a concern that they might just come around at the start of January and say, yeah, hotel's gone now, lads. Sorry about that, lads. It's now gone for the map set. You've got to play a significantly inferior one for the remainder of the season. Let's talk about these point standings then and how the teams are stacking up going into the second major, because already OpTic find themselves in 9th place right here. Legion on 30 points, OpTic on 20 points. Obviously, Vegas had a pretty rough set of qualifiers, but they at least got 20 points, I guess, for coming top 6 at the major. So already 30 points for Legion. They've already got 4 series wins to their name. Absolutely incredible seeds. Last season, they got 2, the entirety of it. And these are the standings in terms of points and also map win, map loss percentage. New York Subliners leading the lot, 85 points. Of course, they won the major. Expected stuff there. Then we've got Ultra, FaZe, Seattle Surge, pretty much the placements for the major with some few exceptions. And then the bottom 4 teams, the bottom 4 placing teams of the major, OpTic, of course, included among them. Now, we'd expect that probably Los Angeles Guerrillas and probably the London Royal Ravens will make a change over the next couple of weeks. I think LAG for sure. I don't know what's going to happen with London. I think that OpTic will hold off on a change because what change can they realistically make? But if they perform badly, like, there's no way these guys want to just sit there and have terrible placements for the whole season. Yes, it's Scump's final year. Yes, they might not want to mess with the chemistry or something and bring in a new player, but like, if they don't, they might run the risk of just having very lackluster or mediocre results. I mean, after they won Major 1 last season, their best placement since then is maybe a top 3, maybe a top 4. Like, they've got a lot of top 4s, a lot of top 6s. Yes, they had the iLLeY Pro Loot situation, but they come into this year with their full team again, got top 12. Like, obviously not a good sign. So I think many people realize, just some challenges news for you guys real quick, that the OpTic team probably will make a change if things go poorly from now on. They need to turn it around quick. Yes, they had the illnesses and certain reasons why they were struggling to get good practice in over the last few weeks, but nonetheless, they find themselves in a really tough spot, and even Paul X implies last night that maybe something's happening with London, maybe it is not. But OpTic could have got Hydra in, right? That was a possibility in the offseason. The Hydra Cammy team almost happened in place of iLLeY and Dashy, of course, and then Scump was maybe going to move to the flex in that situation. There were some possibilities. Hydra comes straight in, wins Major 1, looks phenomenal. Certainly a massive MVP candidate for the season now, right, with the way that he is playing. So the guys in the reverse sweep last night were discussing what they think about this OpTic team, what the potential changes could be in the future, but also when might they consider to make a move. Because after Major 1, it's gone badly wrong, but there's a few reasons maybe why they had a bit of a tough time here. And going into Major 2, they should get significantly better. If they do, then fine, maybe they run the season out. But if they don't, Parasite certainly believes, like seems to imply as well, that yeah, if Major 2 goes badly wrong, they've got to make some moves. And potentially other teams around that time might be making moves as well to allow some options to be available to OpTic.
I think in Seth's situation, like, if I'm on that roster, like, especially if I'm Shotzzy, right? Like, Shotzi's the one who we all kind of predict to carry on the legacy as, like, the superstar of the Green Wall. I think, yeah, all these guys really, in my opinion, need to buy in. I mean, it's Seth's last year, and he's performing at a level, honestly, that's probably better than he has been the last couple years. He mentioned it. The game suits his play style more than the games we've seen in the past. No slide canceling like that. So I think them as a team, really, I mean, they need to lay it all on the line this year. I think, CES being CES last year, if they don't get a win in CES last year, that's going to be crazy.
My thing with OpTic though is that it's different with them, and I'll tell you why. Because obviously these guys have been teaming, for 2 years now, same roster. But the thing is, going into the season, they wanted to get rid of 2 players. Some people thought it was a joke, but it's already been confirmed it wasn't a joke. These guys obviously had the full intention of getting rid of Dashy and iLLeY. And I still think that at times iLLeY and Dashy are kind of underperforming in a way. I think Dashy is better than the potential the potential that he's been playing at, and I think iLLeY obviously has always been that question mark for that team, whether he's going to play really well. And when he does play really well, that team makes a lot of big runs in tournaments. But when he's playing not so well, that's kind of when they struggle. And with Shotzzy obviously not having the superstar performances that he's capable of, these guys are really in a weird position where I feel like if they have another like terrible stage at like a major or something like that, these guys might actually blow it up like to a degree, which is I feel like might actually be weird for Seth's last year. To see if
have like a major roster change.
To have like a major roster change, because obviously he's going to be gone next year if he stops playing. So like them having to get 2 new players and introduce into this whole OpTic system, and it's almost like a family like type environment, right, where they like to keep these players long term. It's going to be a really weird situation.
Also, we talk about like how OpTic can get anyone they want, right? But like realistically,
you
look at but also when you think about that, look at the landscape, right? So like let's just assume they can't get any of the top dogs, right? So let's say no Atlantas, no superstars off Surge or stuff like that. But what player would want to join that roster in CES last year, right? Like I feel like that's like a super high stressful situation where like even if you do join, like you're almost automatically gonna get scapegoated, right? Like even if it's not your fault.
The key difficulty, it seems to me, that OpTic has, though, is that their run into Major 2 and also Major 3 is far from easy. Like, they had a reasonably straightforward run in Major 1, okay? Not an easy one at all, but compared to Major 2 and 3, OpTic's run for the qualifiers was relatively easy before. They went 2-2. This time, it's going to be more challenging. They played Boston in the first round. Not an easy team to beat online at all, to be honest, right? I mean, like, okay, Boston had a bad performance in the Major, but still not a bad team at all. Then they played Surge, the grand finalist here for Major 1. Then they played Toronto. They got bodied by Toronto at the major. They then play Vegas, pretty solid team. Should be able to beat them online, but not ideal. And then it's FaZe. So the way that OpTic performed at Major 1, you're expecting what, 2-3 from OpTic out of this map set? If they go 2-3, if they go 3-2 out of these, it's pretty impressive stuff. So that's the thing. They need to get better and fast, because if they perform poorly in this set of qualifiers before Major 2 in Boston, and then they don't do well at the major, like that's got to be the end of it, right? We knew that this team had a relatively short leash, and the guys on the flank seemed to agree, or the guys in the reverse sweep there seem to agree. And also they mentioned, right, the fact that Crim, after going into his last season, told his teammates, hey, like this could be it for me, like let's give it our all, basically. And he didn't really get the response that he wanted. And I don't know if we've seen that necessarily with OpTic so far, or it's maybe even, it could even to a certain extent be a pressure thing, right, for the guys, because maybe they're looking at the Scump situation, they're thinking, well, damn, I've got to perform and I'm not really performing, and it's getting in their heads a bit. I don't know if you guys think that's any legitimacy behind that. So these are the Major 2 qualifiers, and these are the Major 3 qualifiers. So they play the Rokkr, that should be a better team by then than they are now. The Subliners, the Major 1 champions. Then LAG should be an easy game, but who knows what their team looks like in a couple of months' time. Then Toronto, then FaZe. So, I mean, man, OpTic have a tough schedule for the next 2 rounds. There is no doubt about it. And if they don't, of course, like, if you do badly in the qualifiers, you go 2-3 with a bad map count, you end up starting in losers at the major. Maybe you fight your way to top 6, top 8, but not a good look at all. So yeah, I don't know. It's a really tricky situation. The thing is, right, if they were to make a move, what would they actually do about it? And this was those comments, or these were those comments here from Crim6 that happened a couple of months ago now, when Scump officially announced that he was going to be retiring in October. And Crim says, yeah, tried this route last year, thought my teammates would try harder for me, but didn't go well. Dope video. So basically implying there that whatever happened on that Subliners team last season was not working out for them as, well, Crim6 basically said, look, just retire now now and get it over with, was his implication at the time. I think, you know, it's good for Scump that he's stuck around just because he's great at this game. But, yeah, I don't know, like, Scump's got to feel, I mean, look, we saw a few days ago, Messi won the World Cup, go out with the absolute fairy tale story, having struggled for years to try and win it, all the drama that's happened in the Argentinian national team, comes back, leads the team to success, scores 2 goals in the finals, scores a penalty in the penalty shootout, wins the World Cup, absolute fairy tale story. I'm sure that Scump must have at least watched that and heard about that story and understood, well, like, you know, it'd be fitting for Scump to go out in a similar way. So as it stands, is that OpTic team going to win champs? Like, absolutely not. I don't think that, it's an interesting one because on paper, they should, if you compare them to the Seattle Surge, and this of course is that tweet where they kind of dropped iLLeY right back in August now, and then they brought him back, same thing with Dashy, but if you compare them to Seattle, like Pred versus Shotzzy, like Shotzzy should be better or equal to Pred, Dashy is meant to be better than Sib, but the reality is that Sib is significantly better, I think, and more impactful than Dashy as it stands. Scump should be more consistent than Mack, and I think is better than Mack, and then you've kind of got accuracy versus iLLeY, and iLLeY's meant to be the leader, like accuracy is, and accuracy, you know, performs statistically much worse than iLLeY and is less impactful, but yet Seattle does generally better. And okay, I'm not necessarily saying they're more consistent, Seattle Surge, but you know, that's the type of team that OpTic should be. They should be a team that can make finals like Seattle do and be in that ballpark, and they should have better talent theoretically, but they just don't manage to deliver upon it. So that's the question, right? Dashy and iLLeY, like, okay, they have great name value, but you know, the reality is that compared to Sib and Pred, and even throw Shotzzy in that conversation, they're not quite in the same ballpark right now. And maybe accuracy is a key part of that, but I don't know, I thought it was an interesting storyline to mention for you guys. Now, also to talk about this, obviously Formal isn't coming back to COD right anytime soon, just won the Halo World Championship, but it was his birthday yesterday actually, and they just need a Formal type player. This is the thing, like, okay, Formal left the team, he doesn't want to play COD anymore, that's fine, but nonetheless, right, the fact that Formal, that leadership that Formal has that was so important for this OpTic team for so long, like, they need a player like Formal on the team. It's funny to think about, but I think it's true, and they don't have a Formal, they don't have that real leadership figure. I don't know if iLLeY can be that guy, so look, we'll just see how it goes. Now, the Arcitys question to me is weird because he's signed into a 3-year deal on LA Guerrillas. I can't imagine a world in which they're just going to let him go, but nonetheless, Scump and Arcitys, you know, I think even they want to team together at some point again. I don't know if that's ever going to be possible from a contractual standpoint. I don't really know why LAG would do that either, unless they get, you know, Dashy and iLLeY in return or something crazy. I don't know what's going to happen there, but I just can't see, like, OpTic aren't going to dip their toes into challenges to get a replacement player for iLLeY or Dashy. It's just not going to happen. So I don't know what they do, and the other difficulty is for OpTic is that, let's say LAG are making a change now, let's say London are making a change now, is there any guarantee that teams are making a change after Major 2? Because if they suck at the qualifiers in Major 2, they perform badly at the Major, they've got to make a change, surely. But there might be absolutely no options in a couple of months' time, whereas maybe right now there are options because maybe LAG are making changes, maybe there's other things happening. This is just a tier list that was put together here on Reddit, but I thought it's, you know, not too far off reality, I suppose. And people in the comment section of this tier list were talking about the fact that actually OpTic shouldn't even be B tier, they should be C tier below the Mutineers, which just goes to show. So look, I think we're going to leave it there for today. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new, take care, and I'll see you next time.